Welcome to 50/50 Books, the book review podcast where the books are split in two and figuring out just what is going on is a toss-up. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jonathan. This episode we're reading Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield, up to but not including the chapter titled Gone or Mr Armstrong Goes to Bampton. Well, Taylor, we're in a fantasy book this time. This is a little bit different. How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like we had a lot of science fiction. Unusual for us, but
Definitely.
We're back. Fantasy is interesting. I guess I would classify this more maybe as magical realism.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's leaning the historical fiction. It doesn't seem like the magic is... It might not be there at all.
Only thing that's got me even still thinking it might be is just that it came with that kind of fantasy descriptor, right? And I think there's some parts of it that give the feel of fantasy, but like content-wise, it isn't.
Yeah, and I think that's largely because of the fact that it, at least the first 100 pages, it's kind of like set up as a story about stories, right? All of these interconnecting stories. We get the metaphor of the river and things coming together, separating, all of that. So stories are always going to lend themselves to something more magical because, I mean, we have science in this, but like when you can't explain things logically and scientifically, you kind of have to fill in those gaps, and so magic comes into play. So
Yeah, I think too because of the way the book starts feeling a bit more like it's going to be deeper in the fantasy. Also, like starting with a story from even further back than the book itself takes place. Like it like put me in a certain mindset that I kind of had to pull myself back from at times throughout the book where I'm like, actually this book takes place in the 1800s, not the 1400s, you know?
yeah.
Like it just gave me the feeling of, I don't know, like we're supposed to be more separated from it than we are realistically.
Yeah, it feels kind of like everybody here is almost living in a bubble. I think that's also because we get a lot of characters that are similar to fairy tales, like Margot having like 13 children.
Right,
I think there's
right.
a fairy tale about like the 12 daughters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like we're getting a lot of fairy tale allusions. And obviously we're even getting mythological allusions, like the boatman is clear, right? And the river being connected to the underworld. So like, yeah, we're just getting like a lot of old allusions happening.
Yeah. I do think as far as the story about stories thing, maybe that's influencing this as like it's supposed to be a more fantastical telling of a story. Like maybe this is a story that could be told otherwise, right? Like it doesn't have to have all this kind of like, I don't know, song and dance to it. And, you know, presumably it's going to have a definitive ending of some sort, hopefully. And so like all of this kind of flourish around it throughout is really just a stylistic choice.
I think so, because one of the last chapters we got was everybody at the Swan telling this story like over and over, and people have different perspectives, but also the diction matters, right? You have the gardener telling the story and he says Helena went like herring up the river, and everybody's like, you can't say that, it's like,
oh,
so sometimes it's not about telling it the right way, but like the best way.
Sure.
And so that lends itself not necessarily to lies, but like to your point, to like flourishes and things changing in subtle ways.
I do think there's maybe something there to like what you can trust and what you can't trust that is maybe relevant here. But the thing that sticks out to me about what you're saying there with this conversation, like I think the angle of a story about stories, I'll say, can be interesting. I'm not sure it's gotten me in this story, at least at the current point. You know, we still have half the book to go, but like that conversation about like whether or not they could say herring was driving me a little nuts, because I think at that point I was already feeling like things had been moving a bit slowly through the book and was like maybe just like a little too focused on the wrong things, in my personal opinion, obviously not like for what the story is going for, where I was like, I'm kind of here to like, I don't know, like I'm here for interpersonal, I'm here for things that are slower, that are more about like interpersonal development, relationship, maybe even understanding character more, and I say even that because I'm not sure that that's what that did either. So like, I don't know, there's versions of like taking it slow and learning a little bit more about the, you know, personal setting of the book. That is fine, but that like things like that, there's a couple moments beyond that one, and I'm not sure I could think of one off the top of my head now, but there's a few moments throughout the book where I felt like, man, like this, I think it's sitting too much in that and not doing the storytelling enough.
Yeah, it's the first 100 pages basically is all setting up for the story. And quite literally, because all of the chapters end something is going to happen.
Yes, yeah.
And then finally, after like 100 pages, it's like, okay, this is the happening. Supposedly, we'll see. But like,
Yeah, I have thoughts on that, but yeah.
Yeah, this is when the story is actually like taking off. The mystery is set up. Rita is working on solving it. All of that kind of stuff. So, and then you have to wonder reading it, like, is 100 pages too much setup, right? There are some like really small things I could nitpick and be like, we probably didn't need this. We could have trimmed this. But there are other things where it's like you get to the Armstrongs and he's talking about his pig that went missing and you're like, does this really matter? And then you get a little bit later and you're like, maybe it does matter.
Right. And that's the thing too, is like I can sit here and whine about these things are unnecessary, but at the end of the day, there's another half of the book. Who knows what's going to loop around and be clever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That being said, like the longer parts that I liked were the setting descriptions. I think it does a good job of giving you the kind of fable vibes and I don't know, like kind of the aura of mystery and all that when the initial parts of the book are happening. So I could appreciate that. Like I think the two things that came to mind as far as like similar vibes from that first part of the book were Over the Garden Wall, as far as like, I don't know. Yeah, like I guess that's also got a fable vibe to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh gosh, what was the other one I just had in my mind? Shoot, I lost the other one. But you know what? That's a good one enough, though. Like just hitting that kind of, yeah, like mysterious but fairy tale, but still like with real people. You know, it's like in that like middle ground. It executed it well.
Yeah. But I guess before we get into the mystery of it, we have to do some setup of our own, which is basically how any of this starts, which I guess is with Mr. Daunt, our mysterious man who brings in and saves a little girl who seems dead in a river.
Well, it doesn't even seem like a girl at first.
Yes, for sure. He supposedly got into an accident at like the Devil's Weir. I don't know if that's how you say it in the audiobook.
I think that's right.
But then somehow ended up at the Swan. And it seems like that geological jump isn't typical or like expected. That was the impression I got, at least. So like, yeah, I mean, if the discussion is like, is this a fantasy book? Does this have magic? There is the question of like, if he got into an incident at the Devil's Weir, first of all, what saved him? If there is no magical boatman that exists, right? What saved him? And how did he end up exactly in the place he needed to be to find this girl, right?
Yeah, I think a thing I was trying to figure out with the magic that I think less now, but for a great deal of the book was like, is the river kind of a portal? And I think there's some reference to like, I don't know, like another side, right? But it seems to be more like the other side is death. But at first I was interpreting it as like, this is like a portal between worlds. Like maybe like these folks came from the, the quote other side of that and ended up here. But then like kind of, I mean, not only does the sort of death explanation make more sense, but the photographer Daunt ends up like back where he started, right? Like he's like in the same world he was when he started. So that I guess is the evidence that he is from just like up the river or down the river or whatever it is.
Yeah, I got that impression as well. Before the underworld connection was made, I did make a note of like rivers being, or just bodies of water in general being portals or like crossover points. You see it with like Camelot, right, and King Arthur, and then I don't think it's typical with Fae. I don't remember if it's rivers, but Fae do get mentioned in this book.
Yeah.
With like Jonathan. So I was like, yeah, is there some kind of other side other than death that's going on here?
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. I don't freaking know.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah, the story aspect of it seems to support such a thing, but yeah, I don't know. And Daunt seems to remember very little, or at least like the couple chapters we've gotten from him. I mean, one has been about like mermaids, so like there's another crossover, like other side aspect with water.
That's a good connection beyond just it being horny Daunt.
I know, I hated that. So annoying. That's like exposition where I'm like, did we really need
like,
this chapter?
Right.
But then yeah, the other chapter is him like meeting with Rita. So like yeah, we haven't got a lot of him like thinking about this.
And it's clear like he has memories in general. I was almost expecting him to be like, I don't know who I am, like I don't know what happened, where I came from or anything, but like that's not the case. He really just kind of doesn't have a strong memory of that night.
Yeah. Another weird piece of this, though, is he's the one that finds the girl, but also, if this is Amelia, he's also the one that photographed her before her kidnapping 2 years ago, right? So, like, why this person in the spot that night, this girl? Like,
Right.
right? There's a
Like
lot
a
of,
reuniting kind of.
yeah, like, he's somebody that's connected to her if this is Amelia. So, why 2 years later, right? Like, it's just all very strange.
Yeah, that is like a weird part of it, right? Because there's the sort of time gap thing of the 2 years. Like, it's hard to explain what that would be. I guess this is maybe crossing into theory land a little bit, but like it's hard to explain why, like, yeah, this child would disappear and then like 2 years later come back. Like, why would she ever come back effectively?
Mhm.
And that's like part of what we have to figure out with this. But I think the easy answer is that she wouldn't, right? She wouldn't come back, and so I don't know. At what point is random chance just random chance to a degree, right? Like, I mean, I don't think that's the direction that this story is going to go, but like there's almost a version of this that's, oh, well, I mean, just the fact that she's alive to begin with is wild. So like the fact that she's alive and came to us with this photographer who vaguely knew her is like just like, I don't know, another another tick in the same randomness scale.
Mhm. Unless the point at the end is this is all random, but we ordered it and wrote it in such a way so that as a story it makes sense, right?
That would be an interesting ending. I definitely don't think that's what's going to happen. I think people would be upset with that kind of story.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, there's also other weird stuff happening with this girl. It's actually something I didn't remember until I was looking through my notes to write them down for this episode, but the fact that Rita, I think she's a nurse,
Mm.
technically, right?
A nurse with a doctor's abilities.
Yes, she's probably the best character so far in this book.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
She's the best.
She was the one to examine the girl while she was seemingly dead. And the interesting thing was the girl had no marks of how she died, of death, but also no marks showing she had lived, right? Like it was such a perfect doll, basically, is what people assumed she was, right? So you would expect more from somebody who might have been tumbling in a river, especially somebody who drowned in a river, right?
For sure, with the drowning part. It's bizarre that she has kind of this polished look to her.
And if she was Amelia and she was kidnapped, you're telling me there's no nothing from what happened with that, right? Like
Right, like anything she would have experienced.
yeah.
Which, I don't know, maybe yellow flag that this is not Amelia, but also just like, yeah, bizarre from since this is leaning in fantasy, like is she a human, or at least is she just a human, right? Like is there something more going on there? Of course. I think it's so interesting, the descriptions at the beginning where they're like, this man and this puppet came in, right? Like no, truly no one is recognizing her as human, and maybe it's because like, yeah, she is effectively lifeless, and so she's moving in ways maybe that humans aren't supposed to move, and you might more ascribe to a puppet. That's like the best I could give. It's a little hard to believe that no one, until Jonathan like notices that she is a real person, especially when like it's followed up by, oh, like everyone, once we realized she was a human, everyone wanted to like take her home and basically make her their child, which is like almost feels like the opposite direction of like, oh, I thought this thing was lifeless and now I want it to be like my child. And I want to emphasize too, they're not saying I want to take her home and put her on a shelf, right? Like they're not saying like I wanted to bring her home so I can just show her off to everyone because she's like a trophy child, like, she's just like so beautiful, or whatever, so sweet, so cute, whatever, anything like that. It's really like everyone wants to care for her. So there's like such a turnaround.
I mean, yeah, there might be some like magical pull aspect of that, or just the fact that she's a girl, like a little girl,
Yeah,
in need of care, human empathy or whatever.
I'm tempted to believe there's some sort of magical effect happening that's causing that. Like, we don't know why she's here, if she was sent by someone, something too, right? Like, is she potentially serving a purpose of like making people warmer and bringing people together, like something gushy like that, right? That would cause, that this sort of effect would help people feel.
Right, because there's like the blemishes is odd enough, but there's other odd things happening, right? Like when they describe her appearance, it's like her eyes are this color, her eyes are this color. Like nobody can settle on what she looks like.
Mm,
So it's almost like she looks however you want her to look.
yeah, yeah.
And we kind of see this with, I mean, the Vaughns, for example. Helena's completely deranged, but like Mr. Vaughn is like investigating her looks, but not close enough, right? He's like, I guess he also is like, she looks familiar, but I don't know why, right? Like there's something uncanny valley about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because he acknowledges, he's like, this is not our child, but there is something happening here, something weird.
And then yeah, there's the aspect of she was dead and she came back to life.
Yeah, there's like this like kiss of life moment from Jonathan, right, where he like kisses her on the forehead, and then it's only after that she's, I guess, either starting to show signs of life or that people start noticing that she has signs of life, right? One or the other. But I think it's interesting too that it's not isolated to the girl, right? Like she is not the sole presence of potential magic in the room, right? Like Jonathan's got this whole story kind of to him of like being born, and they think he's a changeling, and like he's not like other boys, right? Like he's definitely a little different. Definitely felt like there were some like implications going on there, but
Yeah.
but he's different, and like people know that he's different, so he's got a potential source.
Yeah.
So one of the other things related to the development around the girl's arrival is one of the townspeople, and I don't think they were named, kind of has some whispers about like, oh, like doesn't she look kind of like whoever? And like we don't actually hear who whoever is, like she whispers it into someone's ear. And this, I don't think it ever gets resolved, or like if it did, I like totally missed it of who they thought it was. Like it could have just been that they think it's one of the people who actually showed up here, like the Vaughns or Robin or something like that. But I do wonder if there's like a behind the scenes someone who actually might have an actual recognition of her, or if this is just like setting up that like everyone sees a little something in her.
Yeah, it could tie into the Vaughn thing I mentioned before, or it could tie into kind of an idea I have about the Vaughns.
Oh,
if we want to just talk about them fully.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Because they are the first to not necessarily claim the girl. I think technically that's Lily White, but they are the first to actually take the girl.
Yeah.
Because everybody just kind of decides, yeah, that's Amelia. I think even the parson is like, yeah, that's Amelia. And I think this is because even if it's not true, the Vaughns are a very wealthy, I think, well-known family. So I think it's for the best if people just kind of go, that's probably Amelia. Do you know what I'm saying here?
Like it's like this is going to ruffle less feathers, or
Basically, like they're like the rich, well-known family. Why would they go against that?
I see. Kind of like what they say will go. Even if it's not necessarily like a power grab thing, but just because of the status they already have.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. At least for like maybe why the majority and why the parson might think this is Amelia. Like why people are so quick to accept, yeah, this is Amelia.
I think it's, I don't know. I wonder how many people in this context knew or had met them or the child before, because I think this gets touched on a little bit, but it's probably pretty hard to tell someone that that's not their kid. Like, I mean, how are you going to, if someone comes, someone's been missing their kid for 2 years and something like this happens and they come in, they're like, oh my God, it's my kid. Like, I don't, like maybe a police officer would question it, but like, I'm not questioning it. I'm just like passerby. Like, who am I to say, like, are we sure? I think maybe most people are in the setting of bystander, where they're like, well, like, why wouldn't I believe that they just recognize their own child? Like, how presumptuous of me to say we should check.
Yeah, which I agree. I feel like, yeah, probably a lot of people are kind of like, we're just not going to get involved, or the story is better if it is Amelia, any of that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
but everybody knows 3 people claimed this girl, right?
True.
Like, and the way the parson talks to Lily in particular is what gives me this vibe, right? Because he does try to logic it, like, this can't be your sister, the age is insane. But he's kind of like, don't push this, Lily. Don't say anything about this.
Yeah.
Like, there's almost like a forcefulness to it.
He's kind of an asshole about it, because she's kind of already in that zone.
Yeah, so
Do you feel like Lily claimed her though? Like, I guess I'm confused about the Lily interaction a little bit because she definitely treats her like who she thinks she is, right? But she also just kind of walks away after, right? Like I don't know. Do you think she's given up, or do you think she's just like maybe that's not like I don't know, like what I guess what's your full take on her ending that interaction?
yeah, I was also confused by this because I didn't realize Lily had told the people at the inn that she thought the girl was her sister, right? I thought she saw it, went outside, prayed, and then disappeared. Um, but with the Parson conversation, apparently the people at the inn, is it that conversation? At some point,
I think
the people
so.
at the inn do know that Lily White thinks the girl is her sister. Like, that is information that is open to the public. But I think most people think she's probably insane or they
Yeah.
just don't know her. Like the main stories have to do with the Vaughns and with Robin. I think that's the main circulating stories, but I think people within this sphere do know Lily thought it was her sister.
Right. I mean, I think this makes the Vaughn's wealth be like your point about that even stronger because there's the version of this where Lily is like, this is my sister. Like, I want to take her home because she's my sister, right? And then she's kind of got to fight the masses on that. And like, I don't think that's a winning battle because of all of the things that the person said, right? Of like, you guys have a 40-year age gap. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Um, and yeah, and then there's like the wealth aspect of like, I mean, how are you going to fight the Vaughns on this? They probably have a lot of social power. There's a lot of people who are empathetic to their thing too. It's a much more recent story. So then she maybe then just makes the choice to not say anything, right? And do kind of what she did of walk out and accept that that's not going to happen and move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think she also herself, I mean, this is a self-esteem issue, but also herself realizes even if this was her sister is better off with the Vaughns than with her.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think that's relevant in multiple angles. Like that could potentially be a choice in her favor, right? Of being like, okay, she's being taken care of. I think this can maybe come back around when we talk about Robin too, that it may be in his favor too.
Yeah, the Robin thing is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the Vaughns get to take Amelia because it is the better story. The Vaughns are well known. Helena is basically for the past 2 years, their marriage has kind of fallen apart, and Helena has gone. I don't want to say crazy.
She's definitely unwell, right? Like
She's
she's
very unwell.
like obsessively focused on it and kind of unable to manage her life as she might otherwise as a result of this.
Yeah, she obviously has not moved on, and it seems like she would never have moved on if this girl hadn't come around.
I mean, the things that Mr. Vaughn was willing to do to make it to like kind of get his life back were getting extreme, right? Like I think he was really feeling, not that it excuses some of the things he was trying to do, but he was really feeling the pressure of this, the past 2 years of like everything being totally different.
Yeah, which is, why he's so quick to not quick to accept it, but like willing to accept it even though he knows it's not Amelia. Just because Helena has basically like overnight 180'd become herself again, except she's a little bit more deranged. She's kind of riding on like the mother knows best. This is my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody around her is kind of just like, I guess mother knows best, you know?
Yeah. And this is exactly what Mr. Vaughn wanted too. That man totally has a first name, but he's just Mr. Vaughn in my head.
I don't remember it, yeah.
um, like he's getting exactly what he wanted, so why would he fight it, right? Like, yeah, he's got his wife back. Like things have some semblance of normalcy. I mean, obviously, there's still something upsetting him because he kind of gets the vibe that it's not his daughter, right? But it's an unsettling he's willing to take over having his wife just be inaccessible to him.
Yeah, and he's willing to go to like legality over it, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is where this power play comes into effect, that I mentioned earlier. Because if Robin does try anything, he has money, he has, legality, he has things prepared so that Amelia can stay with them.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see what Rita does because she's kind of become a friend of the family almost. Helena wants her there to look after Amelia, which I think makes sense, to be
Hmm.
honest. But also Helena is very obviously looking for companionship for herself.
Yeah.
These are two young-ish women who are kind of alone, so you
Well,
know.
she's also just like arrived back to the world, right? Like she's been so like one, focused for the past 2 years, and now she's like, oh, I guess I can have my life again, right? And so I can imagine that she maintained a lot of friendship in that time of her life. So it makes sense that, she clicks with Rita early on, like, well, why not, right?
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what a possible betrayal might do to Helena, right? Because Rita is still looking into this, right? She's trying to see if scientifically a pulse can get that low. And then also, I don't think she thinks that Amelia is Amelia.
No, yeah, she definitely does not.
Yeah, she kind of understands that Helena is grasping at any girl, right? That could possibly be Amelia. So she keeps looking into it and researching and digging into it, especially if Robin or even Lily are like public with their claim. It'll just cause a mess, really.
I find, yeah, Rita's like the all-knowing character, right? Like, and she doesn't know everything yet, but she's in the middle of everyone, which is like such a like spicy place to be, right? Like where she's getting information from multiple sources, and then she ends up the target of that mugging too, which kind of gives her even more information, which she does share, to be fair, but like she just she has an insight into this that no one else does, especially with her abilities too, right? With the medical scientific abilities.
Yeah.
I guess that's what makes it so fun to follow her. Yeah, like to get her perspective on things.
She's also so contrary to the story, right? Because you mentioned earlier, like, flourishes, and I mentioned, like, it's not about necessarily telling the whole truth, but, like, the best sounding version of the story. And Rita is very much not like either of those things, right? She's very to the point. She is logical. She is scientific. So it's like really nice to have a character like that within this story and then also possibly within this magical story.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Yeah, right. There's like a contrast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The only concerns right now the Vaughns have is obviously Robin keeps coming around. It's been 2 months and he keeps showing up and hangs out with them, and it's kind of weird. Um, so they think he might try. Well, Helena is like delusional, but Vaughn thinks Robin might try to claim Amelia, like he's preparing for something, blah, blah, blah. So that's happening. Another thing that's happening is Helena notes to Rita that somebody is watching Amelia. She specifies from like the garden or the river. So the Vaughns are placing locks on their windows because in the past that's how Amelia was seemingly kidnapped.
Can I just say it's totally crazy that they did not start there?
I know.
It's
I
nuts.
know. But they also had a nursemaid in the past. This was really new information for us. Ruby, who was at the river when the kidnapping happened. And that happened at like midnight on a solstice,
Yeah.
which is also when like this story starts. So weird stuff, like weird coincidences again, but also who is watching Amelia? It could just be Robin, doubtful.
Yeah, I mean Robin is like able to be inside the house, right? He's welcomed in, so I think there's not like a strong reason to believe that he's snooping about too.
Yeah. I think having it be the river is interesting because that might mean it's not something human, right?
Yeah, I mean it could be, it gets into theories, but it just depends on the source of this child, right? If that is an option, because if there's like an actual ferryman, right? Like presumably could be them, like it could be quietly, especially if this is secretly actually quietly's kid, right? Like watching
Mm-hmm.
from the river. That would make a ton of sense, and definitely lean more into the fantasy side of things. I think there's also the option of it's just like that person who mugged Rita, who may or may not be someone we're going to talk about later on, like Lily's familial connection, right? That might be like, I don't know, the more basic, I guess, like logical one, that it's just like a normal human who's got bad intentions, right? But we also don't know why she got kidnapped the first time, and maybe that's also related to the river ferryman to begin with. So
Right. But speaking of that familial connection, actually, let's just skip right to Lily White in full.
sounds good.
I actually don't think it's Victor that, well, okay, it could be Victor that's spying on Amelia. but I also think it might be Lily White.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that would make some sense. Yeah, go ahead.
We've gotten a couple times now where Lily imagines Anne in the Vaughn's house, and she says, the carpet is red, there are pictures on the wall, like, I can just imagine the room she's in. And I'm like, the fact that she's, like, putting together the room in her mind is making me wonder, is she actually just watching Anne, and so she knows what it looks like?
Maybe imagine is a storytelling embellishment.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see that being the case. I mean, it would be another way to continue bringing the three groups of people together, right? In that right now we already have her in the Vaughn's house. Robin gets to go in the house and see her, so it kind of almost just makes logical sense that Lily would still be involved in some way by watching from the outside.
Yeah, because obviously she wants Anne to be safe, in the general sense, also from Victor, I would assume. So yeah, it would make sense that she's, like, kind of watching over her to make sure she's okay.
And, like, she in a way let this go, right? And that she walked out of there. She didn't try to claim her, and she had this conversation with the person about, why it's so logical for this to happen. But that doesn't mean she really let it go, right? Like, I think she's still going to be invested in, like, it's going to tug at her. So this is a way for her to kind of engage without fully engaging, though it may lead there at some point.
Yeah, because the question is, how could this possibly be Anne, right? And this might lend into the girl isn't human factor, right? If Anne was previously haunting Lily and that ghost was real, it seemed to leave real, like, wet spots where she stood in the house, right? That seemed real, but also it could have been Lily's imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if, like, the ghost is real, the guilt is real, then possibly the girl coming back, the age she was when she died, could have been what happened, right? Like, this event could have taken place 20 years ago, which is why the age range is odd now. But then the question is, like, why is Anne coming back now, right? Like, what happened to cause that?
I mean, that question stands either way, whether it's Anne or Amelia, really. I guess there's a difference, though, that if it is the Amelia path, like, time has passed for the child, presumably, because she's at least perceived to be 4 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas she was 2 years old 2 years ago, right? So it kind of just depends, what the reality is, how this works. Because I briefly had the thought, too, of, like, oh, like, even when Amelia 2 years ago disappeared, maybe she was just, like, time portaled 2 years in advance, on the dot, and that's why there wasn't enough time for her to drown or something like that. But that's not the case, because she's 2 years older.
Right. I'm like, how do I transition to talk about Victor? But let's talk about Victor. You mentioned the ruffian that Rita dealt with, also the fact that Amelia went missing. All of these things might be connected, who can say? But at the very least, Victor and the ruffian seem to be the same person. Actually, this isn't confirmed. I just confirmed it myself for no reason.
It seems quite possible, yeah.
Yeah, they smell the same, and they both have a brimmed hat. So you know what? We're just going to say they're the same person, because that seems the most obvious. So then the question is, like, why does Victor care so much about Amelia or Anne, if they're all family? Maybe he also knew Anne. We can't say this for certain.
But I wonder if he doesn't see Anne when he sees her. Like, I guess when Victor and Lily talked about the girl, do they refer to her as Anne? Do you remember?
No. Victor specifically says he wanted the girl so that they could show her off at a fair. Like the girl that returned from the dead, right? As an attraction.
So it's interesting because for everyone else, right? Everyone else is like, I want to take her home and take care of her. And then you got Victor, right? Who's like, I want to basically exploit her. Such a different response. And this I think really does suggest that there is kind of a magical nature to the girl, but there's a different few explanations for that. Like one being that she doesn't want to go with Victor, so she's not going to she's not going to put off vibes of being desirable in as far as a caring way, right? But it also may just say a lot about Victor, who seems kind of like a horrible person, right? Where he's exploitative to begin with Lily, it seems. And yeah, like if he mugged Rita, well then yeah, he's like also a mugger and a thief and all of these things, right? Like he's not exactly living a model life in this society. So I think there's just something to be said too that the child is reflecting a little bit of just what people want, what they desire, and maybe a lot of these people want to take her home because they do like have a warmth for children or like want to raise a child or have raised children, right? Like maybe it's just the audience that we've seen so far. And Victor, on the other hand, is not that sort of person. He is like super focused on money. I almost wonder what the lady who was running the house where Robin's ex-wife was found dead, right? If she saw the child, if she would also not be like, I want to take her home and take care of her, because she's also kind of given she's described as an exploitative person as well, right? Like, I just wonder if there's kind of a litmus test going on here.
Right. So yeah, the girl would be reflective of what people want to see.
Yeah.
Which is why nobody can tell who the fuck she is.
Right, right. And it's also why everyone thinks that she is the girl that they think she is.
I feel like that was like what you were saying the whole time, but like now we've just like actually said it in the proper words.
Exactly. Gave it its full moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to stay in hypothetical land, but yeah, I think is what I feel strongest about this is like the reflection part.
Okay. Because yeah, Victor seems like pure evil. He's a piece of garbage. He says they're family. I'm not really sure how they're connected yet.
It was bizarre. He's also very creepy. And so this makes things a little more difficult when it's defining a relationship, because I was like, is this her brother? Is this a lover? Like, what is happening? And especially given the description of her ex-husband as kind of abusive, right? Like, I was like, okay, did she just find herself in another sort of relationship like that? Or did she maybe learn that from someone like Victor, right?
Yeah, well, it seems like she knew Victor beforehand, right? Because he talks about finding her again and like saving her from her old husband. So possibly Victor killed that man. I don't know.
I was thinking that maybe they both did, honestly, because Lily has all this guilt, right? Like, she's like, and there's like definitely things she's referring to that we don't know about yet. So it's like, maybe they both killed her, or killed him, sorry.
At the very least, like, if she would take on the blame for it, whether she did it or not.
True.
But yeah, Victor seems to basically think he has control over Lily. And I was going to say, and it seems like it's working, but also we see the small ways in which Lily is pushing back against that. Like the fact that she's keeping most of her savings with the parson. Like, she's aware she's in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, she's kind of doing the escape from domestic abuse playbook there, right? Like, keeping her own money elsewhere, kind of having to maintain secrets until she's in a stable enough state that she can escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the relationship is, you know, literally familial or not, he's bad news.
Yeah. The point with Rita, just to wrap us back around, because I feel like this is important to note. Right. And this also ties into the window watching thing. Like, it could be Victor, it could be Lily. I think 2 years ago previously, I almost think Victor had something to do with it.
Oh, yeah, because there's this focus on, like, is she going to be able to speak again? And, like, the sort of implied hiding that comes with that.
Yeah, and Rita thought about that both ways. It could be he doesn't want her to speak about what happened in the past, which could mean his involvement in whatever kidnapping plan happened. But also, is she going to speak in the future, right? So, like, maybe he has some kind of plan, or maybe he's doing something now. Like, I don't really know, right?
It could even just be if he's thinking in his exploitative mindset of, like, if he is, like, literally trying to abduct her for, you know, to show her off for money or whatever, is like, it would probably make his life a lot easier if she doesn't, right? Like, in that she can't fight it, she can't argue it, and he gets to kind of paint whatever narrative around her that he'd like to.
Yeah, that's true. A silent victim is way easier to control, right?
Very happy thoughts here, but yeah, like, that's just given the sort of person it is, like, that seems reasonable too.
Interestingly enough, there is something about silence, and it has to do with a pig.
Say more. It's with one of the, like, descriptions of interactions with sows, etc.
Yeah, if we're talking about kidnapping and repeated behavior, I think Victor also is the one who stole Maud from the Armstrong farm.
Okay, what's the connection? Yeah.
I think I mentioned this before. We saw this chapter about the pig. I was like, I don't know if it actually matters.
I'm not gonna lie, I tuned out for a lot of the pig portions. That's why I'm a little stunned here, but yeah, go ahead.
And then we get to Lily White, and she's living in the boatman's house. I guess that's important. She's living in Quietly's old house, but it's fine. And she has pigs as well. And one of them is, like, very intelligent and seems to want to communicate with her somehow. Not magically, but, like, pigs are actually quite smart. But, like, this one also is just like, my eyes are disappointed, Lily can't tell, blah,
Right,
blah, blah,
right.
that kind of stuff, right? And then when we get to the Armstrongs, it's like Robert, the father of Robin, is like, Maud was my best pig. Like, I could really talk to her and she would understand me. So I'm like, I feel like how many intelligent female pigs can there be in a story? You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. Such that it gets highlighted. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if Victor has a history of leaving stolen goods at the cabin that Lily is living in, which seems to be the case, then did he steal the pig from the Armstrongs? And I guess give it to Lily or leave it with Lily, maybe realized it's not useful anymore. Whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
The only weird thing about that kidnapping, the kidnapping of that pig, is Armstrong does note that Maud didn't make a sound, right? Like,
right. He's like, why wouldn't she like say anything effectively, you know?
Right. So now we have a very quiet pig who wasn't typically quiet, and a very quiet girl who wasn't usually quiet, right? So, like, is there some kind of connection happening here?
Maybe so. That's interesting. Like, I didn't think about the potential high relevance of the pigs in the story, honestly. But I could see it. That honestly makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't see why else there would be an emphasis of these pig characters on both characters if there weren't a point.
Yeah. I don't know if that means there's ever going to be, like, a meeting of Robert and Lily, or, like, if this is ever going to come back into play, but
I think Robert's probably going to come back around to, like, he had kind of an odd disappearance after being kind of the introduction of the Armstrongs. And he has, I would say, a different investment in this than Robin does. So I think he'll be relevant.
yeah, and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because that's our last family, our last claim, if it ever happens. I do think Robert is more likely than Robin to maybe make a claim if he does actually think this is Alice, our last child.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because he does seem like a family man.
He certainly, yeah, I mean, he cares a lot about Robin, even though Robin seems to have cut him off. And, like, he finds out that Alice exists and he kind of goes looking for her, right? So I do think there's, like, an interesting contrast between Robert and Robin, kind of maybe a somewhat unsurprising story of, like, yeah, a parent who's like, I don't understand how my kid ended up so different from me, which I think just happens all the time, frankly. But there's, like, there's a fun maybe not fun, but there's an interesting family dynamic between those two.
Yeah, we do get the setup for this whole Armstrong situation from Robert first. I think it does. It is necessary to kind of set up Robin's character, because, yeah, the question is, how could these two kind of drift apart? Robert seems really great. I think it's a case of some gentle parenting happening here, because Robert never... I think he details his parenting philosophy as, if anything bad ever happens, you just have to love your child more. Which I don't know if I necessarily agree with.
Right.
I think if your child does something wrong, you should probably punish them and give them consequences.
Right.
Because Robin has at least one incident, possibly a history of lying.
Oh, and there's, like, I forget the details of this now. He, like, destroyed a physical space. I remember it being referred to as the Bureau. I don't remember all the details of that one, but I know he did something that may be considered criminal.
Yeah, I think he destroyed a space, maybe stole some stuff, and then said a thief had shown up and ruined it and blah, blah, blah. And Robert chose to believe him, and his wife Bess was like, I don't believe him. But I don't think they ever did anything about it, and Robert's always felt some guilt for that. But yeah, so, like, he's a good parent, but also he's not a great parent, if that makes sense.
He's not doing all the jobs.
Yeah. Also important to note, this is going to sound kind of out of left field, but I feel like it is important to mention that he is Black.
Yeah, I mean, the book certainly goes out of its way to mention it. And yeah, I kind of alluded to this interesting relationship he has where, like, you know, people in this setting, there's clearly, like, some racist responses, at the very least some confused responses. People are not interacting with Black folks that much, it seems. And then he also kind of carries status to some degree, like, in that, yeah, you know, he had that background of being the son of someone in royalty or something like that, right? So he's not what I would say, like, despite the fact that there's maybe some stereotypical things happening in this book, there's also some not stereotypical things going on, in that he has, like, quite some confidence to his character, and in those settings where he's like surrounded by white folks, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it was his father was an earl or something like that, and then his mother was a servant. So I would say that's kind of not great.
Yeah.
He's also described as being taller and stronger than all of the men around him, and is very clearly playing into that gentle giant kind of like character,
Yeah.
which is all just kind of icky, I'll be honest.
I think, yeah, again, maybe this is all a matter of context, even though I kind of agree with you. I would say one thing that makes a lot of sense here, at least, is yeah, describing on sort of the gentle part. It would make sense that in a society where he is obviously different from a lot of people, and people have, prejudice and all that, that he would kind of learn to be that character, and that like it's ameliorating, right? Like that he can kind of disarm folks from those things that they're thinking ahead of time most of the time, and that becomes a pretty useful skill to have. And so maybe this is not like maybe it's natural to him now, but maybe it did kind of take some active effort to become that sort of person where society has like kind of forced him to be that if he wants to be able to navigate it the way he wants to.
Yeah. It's like having one thing is like, okay, sure. But like having everything together, then it's like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, he's a bit of a perfect specimen, right? Like because he's got that, the strength. He's got the family man vibes, almost traditional value style, right? And yeah, he's also very kind and like soft, and yeah. So there's maybe something to be questioned about a writing of a black character like that, as well as yeah, like yeah, I don't know, just trying to put off a certain vibe about your one black character, right?
Yeah. Yeah, especially because it's not a main character. Like he's important, but like
He kind of disappears.
yeah, Robin for the most part is probably more important to this whole narrative claim that's happening here, and then like yeah, we don't know if he's going to come back around. He might and you're obviously not going to explore his race, right? So
Yeah, well, and that too. This is actually a pretty good point that maybe makes this whole Robert thing a little weaker. Is there's all this emphasis put on sort of the race interactions around Robert, but then Robin is described as white passing effectively. Like it doesn't sound like he really lives his life with the same or even subset of struggles that his father does, and so it kind of begs the question of okay, like so like well, why did we do it this way? Like why did we set it up the story this way, starting with Robert? Just for it to kind of like fade away and be Robin's story at the end of the day.
yeah, I mean, the only way this might come up is if we get more information on Robin's wife's family. That's a weird sentence to say, because they were secretly married, and clearly her family weren't accepting of the marriage, or Robin, I guess, right? So like is that because of like a social standing reason, or is that possibly a race reason, right? Like will it come up that way?
That's a good point. That could make it a little bit more relevant if we get more of that backstory. And one thing to think about too is even if Robin is effectively white passing, it doesn't mean that the context of his father isn't important in his social standing, and that may have something to do, right, with the he blocked him out of his life, right? He like doesn't interact with his home family, and he still doesn't, right? And maybe that is an active rejection of his racial background. Who knows?
Yeah. But it's hard to trust anything Robin says because he's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. At least, yeah, with Rita's observations, we can her that.
Yeah, he has a daughter with his secret wife called Alice. His story is basically that her family wouldn't have accepted them, and so he had to go to Oxford to make them money. Yes, that's basically what happened.
Yeah, she basically sends him off to make money in Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah, and the wife and child stay in Bampton, which is where Robert will eventually find the wife dead and in a brothel, I think, because she was working there. And Alice supposedly drowned in the river by the mother.
Right, with no evidence of such, but just a strong assumption.
Yeah, walking towards the river, and then next day, mother is dead, daughter is missing.
Right.
Robin ends up at the Swan and faints when he sees the girl. But as you mentioned, Rita doesn't entirely buy it because his pulse never changes, right? It's not like I'm assuming based on that, the pulse thing, that like he didn't actually faint. He probably just pretended to do so.
Yeah, just collapsed playing the game. Though I'm maybe still a little confused as to why, but
Yeah, because then he also tells the story of some things we mentioned, right? He was married in secret. The wife's family didn't accept them. So he had to go off to Oxford to make them money, and they were exchanging letters. And then eventually the mother found somebody else and cheated on him. But then he stopped responding to letters because of that betrayal. She ended up getting abandoned by that man. She ended up killing herself. I think that's the gist of it, right?
Yep.
But I don't know if I buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my maybe this is too final of a read, but I think my read on this Robin situation is effectively he's maybe a bit of a deadbeat dad and like is trying to maintain some amount of social respect, and so he's responding in some ways that help maintain that. So by coming here and kind of making a scene about like, oh, this looks like my missing child, but like, no, I know it's not really my missing child, like shows him to be like caring about the child, right? Like that he actually is paying attention and wants the child to be found, which are maybe things that are not really true for him. Like maybe he's pretty tuned out from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, hoping that he doesn't have a child to be responsible for. Now, the part where this breaks down is he's still engaged with this child, right? Like he's visiting and stuff. But to some degree, that's the direction I think it's going still. And like with the family, thinking that the reason why he's totally okay with them taking her is similar to Lily, in that, well, like this nice rich family is going to take care of my child. I don't have to take care of my child, but I can like still get the benefit of coming by and like seeing her when I feel like it. This is maybe a dark reading, but that's how I've been interpreting it.
Well, I have a darker reading, maybe.
Yeah.
I think Robin is using this opportunity to get close with the Vaughns. If this is about social standing, right? Becoming friends with this family would be very advantageous.
That's a fair point.
And then the reason he's focusing so much on Alice when he's at the house might just be because of what you've mentioned, right? If the girl is magic and if she looks familiar, maybe he can't help but be drawn to her, even though he doesn't want to be. So, like, yeah, deadbeat dad, he doesn't care at all, but using the opportunity.
That's interesting. Yeah, so it could be like a social climbing situation.
Yeah. Because my main question about the story is, sure, the wife's family wouldn't have accepted you. What was the issue with telling your family?
Yeah. Well, this is the other thing, too. If it is social climbing, though, like, maybe it's the race thing, right? But I'm like, I feel like the social climbing could have happened within his family. Like, being connected with them still. But given that there is a background that has some amount of money to it, you know?
I mean, money, yeah, but...
Yeah, but maybe not status, yeah.
Yeah. And it is just a farming family, so yeah, if Robin is like all about Oxford and like making connections there.
True.
But yeah, I don't trust him. I don't know.
I think we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
There's definitely something scheming about him, conniving maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it about all of our main folks now.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, we've kind of left them off with the Vaughns just having Amelia. Nobody's made a claim yet, but do we think somebody will?
I don't think only one person makes a claim. Like, I think if one person makes a claim, they all kind of have to get into a fight about it in order for this to work. I do think, like, you know, Lily's kind of, if she is the one watching, which, like, I'm kind of tempted to believe now, like, I think that's going to break for her at some point. Like, she's not going to be able to keep it together. And I think once that happens, that's going to trigger, like, well, Robin's going to, like, have to make a scene about it in order to maintain kind of his facade around what he's doing here.
I see. Yeah, I think the Robin claim is inevitable. I just like am confused as to why he would do it. I mean, to your point, to do it to socially look good, to, you know, because eyes are on them or whatever. But if he's the first one to do it, it is kind of like a why would you? Unless Robert is the one that makes the claim for him.
That's very possible. I mean, I kind of hope Robert comes back in the story, to be fair, like to kind of justify his introduction a little bit more. So I could see that.
We left off on an Armstrong chapter. I just don't know if it's Robin or Robert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Like for the one we're about to go to next.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I guess the other big theory is, who the fuck is this girl? Are you going with the she's all of what everybody
so
wants?
here, I'm kind of split here because I kind of have this she's who everyone thinks she is kind of vibe, right? Of like she reflects who people are looking for. That kind of like came from the idea that she was specifically all three of the girls at first, right? So like that she was Amelia and Anne and Robin's kid. I'm forgetting the name.
Alice.
Yes. Gosh. Yes, that she's all three of those girls simultaneously, and that's why everyone sees her as different people at once. So that was kind of the original, and I think I've kind of expanded that to maybe she really just is a reflection of who people want to see in her. There's also like the version of this where she's really no one, or like she's none of them, and maybe that still retains the like people see who they want to see in her, but it's not because she's all of them, it's because she is none of them, and she's kind of got this like magic to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where I guess it's just two different flavors of magic, and the she's all of them one, it's the magic of like this being a converged human, right? But there's like the magic of she's none of them, but she's like got this ability to kind of incite memories and feelings of people that people are familiar with. And if that's the case, like I think maybe that magical being could still maybe be Quietly's daughter, like the original, I guess, drowned girl who is pulled out. Like maybe she returns to the river at some point, and like this is kind of her. Maybe in place of the ferryman or along with the ferryman, she's kind of a river spirit now, and like this is kind of how she presents herself.
I see. Yeah, I basically have similar vibes to you. I do think the Quietly story is important. It feels kind of Chekhov's gun, to be honest. Because you're telling me there's a fourth drowned girl?
Exactly.
Like, we cannot be serious
Yeah.
here. I was also getting possible amalgamation vibes of like this being all of the girls. If this is tied to the underworld, maybe all of their spirits just ended up in the same girl. Yep. I don't know. Yeah. But then the question would be like, how did this happen, right? Quietly basically sacrificed his own soul to get his daughter back. And so theoretically, something similar would have to happen for this to occur again. Unless like we're working on cycles, right? Like unless it's like a solstice cycles that happens every blah 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 blah. Right. Which might play into your ideas here. But I was thinking of like Lily with a husband that probably died mysteriously, maybe, and the fact that she lives in the boatman's house, and maybe she sacrificed her own husband.
Oh shoot, that's a good point.
And then there's a weird scene with Helena at the beginning where she is like practically lifeless, just in a boat, like in the night on the river. So did she maybe sacrifice her own soul? Like, obviously she's already connected to the river per her history, but like, I don't know, the imagery of that is just very interesting.
I think with the timing of it too, right? Because she's in the river the night that this happens.
I think so, like, or maybe like the night before
incited this to happen. I think there's like a lot of focus on Daunt, but maybe she actually incited something by being in the river.
Maybe, yeah, because I think when she gets out of the river, that's like when she and like her servants are like, something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue I had like with this is the Alice angle, right? But this could go two ways. One, maybe Alice is just used as a vessel, right? Like she was the most recent body in the river. And so with all of these events happening, they just used her body to bring everybody back. Or when the mother drowned her, did the mother do something else, right? Along with the action.
I mean, it's also possible that that Alice was the sacrifice, because if she really was just drowned, like she's a fresh, soul, if you will.
Yeah.
That may have been the real trigger to something, or just the confluence of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so loose, vibe-based, that's my magical theory, is everybody sacrificed a little bit of something to bring a girl back. My non-magical theory, I guess, is it's possible Amelia and Alice are the same person.
Yeah, I had this thought earlier in the story of them being the same.
There's no proof of this yet, but there is a realm of possibility where Victor and Robin know each other. Just because, like, Victor is a thief, Robin, with the way he lies, maybe could give con man vibes. Maybe the reason his marriage was so secret is because he's low-key a criminal.
Mm.
And so maybe Victor and Robin, or one of them or both of them, kidnapped Amelia, had the ransom, took the money. Because that did happen. There was a ransom, the Vaughns paid it, nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And then they just decided to keep the girl, right? Or Robin decided, or Robin's wife decided, or maybe they thought they would get more money out of the Vaughns. Maybe Robin and Victor had a falling out. Any of these things could be possible, right?
I guess that means like the wife would probably be on it too then, because they're gaining a child, right?
I mean, that's what I was thinking.
I guess too though, if she decides she's going to die, beyond the fact that she can no longer care for this child or like whatever, like maybe part of why she would also opt to drown her is to kind of clear the past a bit, right? Of like this wasn't her child to begin with,
Maybe.
like it would like end that. I don't know. It wouldn't leave any open threads behind.
Right, because yeah, because then the question would be like, why not just give the child back, right? But like, yeah, I guess after 2 years, it's like, does that feel too late? If you wanted to take your own life, like, would you want to get mixed up in this whole giving a child back situation, or would you just like wipe it all clean, right?
Right.
Or I don't know, would you even do it to spite Robin if like you're taking care of the kid
Right.
for
True.
something that he wants that maybe we don't know about yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a sorry Anne, I think you're just kind of dead and Lily is grieving situation.
Yeah, I mean, she could still be seeing a ghost, right? Like, she could still be seeing the ghost of the quietly kid, right? And just projecting Anne, or just, yeah, seeing Anne because she's just never grieves properly, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I like this non-magical theory so much anymore, because of the Victor thing that happened, like him coming into play, confuses things a little bit, but I don't know. Robin is just too suspect to not think he's doing something, right?
Yeah, I do think, overall we have more magical thoughts than non, which is funny because, yeah, at the end of the day, what magic has been confirmed in this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that it just feels like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we're just falling into the, when we don't know how to explain things, we just say it's magic, right? But it does feel right for the vibe of this book, at least. We're being primed for that.
Yeah.
There's one other kind of maybe more like edge thought I had in the magical side of things, of like at the beginning they talk about this story of people like in a battle in 1300 or whatever, 500 years before, so 1300. And there were these three people who died at the beginning of it. There was a knight, a varlet, and a boy. And I mean, there's a lot of threes in this book, right? So I I wonder if there's supposed to be, if this was just like a primer, or if there's like an active connection to this story of like the souls of there are a lot more souls. They mentioned like 800 souls, but like I wonder if the souls of these three people who are highlighted might have something to do with these three families or their three children, that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about like, kind of, is there a sacrifice or like souls being given, like if something from this, 500-year ago event could actually be affecting what's happening today.
Yeah, I think with this story, it's also mentioned that people know the least about the boy, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes they just make stuff up.
And they say something about like reviving too, right? Like we revive the boy and kill him every time we tell the story. And then this girl is revived.
Yeah, and nobody knows who this girl is. They're just possibly making things up, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess this adds to like the she's all of them story, and one of the all that she is also this boy.
Yeah, and also into this is a story, like meta-wise, this is a story being told like with intent, and with the knowledge that it's a story. So what are people making up as they're telling it?
Yeah. Honestly, like I think the real like this is touching on second half discussion, so I'll keep it light, but I think this idea of the girl is probably supposed to be like the embodiment of storytelling in some way, right? Of like, yeah, kind of telling alternate versions of the same, like all of these stories are stories, right? Some of them younger, right? The Alice story is very young, whereas the Anne story is very old, and the Amelia one's kind of in the middle, right? But they've all become stories. They've all had their own buzz around them to some degree. And the quietly one very old too, right? Like I think to a point she's just supposed to be like that idea of reviving something, just maybe in kind of a horror angle though.
Interesting. So like there is no girl. It's just a device.
Yeah. I think that can be true even if she is one of these other theories that we've said, just to be clear about it. Like I do think if it were only that, like it was just only like, oh, she's just kind of a demon character effectively at the end that represents like, I don't know, that like has kind of a dark angle on storytelling where we're like, you know, yeah, the whole reviving dead folks through story or something like that, where it's kind of morbid instead of like refreshing. I think it can't only be that in this story, but I think it could be that, yeah, she's the embodiment of like all of these various characters because there are so many stories told about them that kind of like keep them alive, and like now she's like brought them together literally.
Yeah, and also there's the fact that she can't tell her story herself, right? Like stories are being told about her, but she doesn't have any power to tell her own story.
True. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if that changes in the second half. Like if she actually does.
She does speak.
Yeah, because we've because we've been given a timeline of like by summer solstice she should be able to talk. It's nonsense, but if the solstice is like a powerful time within the story for multiple different reasons, like maybe something will happen. And maybe we will get some speech or maybe just more life in her. We know the river is very, like, she's very attached to the river still. But we need more personality from her so that she actually feels alive, right? So
Right.
But yeah, I think that's everything. I feel like that was a very confusing retelling of everything happening.
Yeah.
And then obviously in the next part we will finish up, see how absolutely wrong we are about everything.
Gosh, I hope not on this one. Usually I'm ready for it, but this one I'm like, we had some solid ones, so we'll see.
Yeah. But if you have your own thoughts and theories about anything that's occurred in this book, Once Upon a River, all of our socials are in the description.
And please give us a follow, like, subscribe, and or 5 stars on whatever podcast app you use to listen to us. And thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.